Good morning, children, and welcome once again to this part of the video class for class 5, subject science. Children, I hope that you have completed the assignments of chapter 2, that was a skeletal system. So, uh, even we had a doubt clearance class where I was very happy that many of you cleared your doubts. Now, children, the first semester papers corrections is going on, and I'm happy to see that most of you have done quite well, and hope that you all will have a good result. Now it's time to move on forward. In fact, today we are going to do with chapter 8, that is sound. Now this word sound is very familiar. Now in our surroundings we hear different types of sounds. We hear the sounds of the vehicles, we hear the sound of the thundering of the clouds during the rainy season, we hear the clattering of the raindrops, and many more. The sounds of the machines in the factories, the sounds produced by various animals, the human beings, and of course various other objects that is all around us. But the main question is, what is sound? Now, sound is a form of energy that creates a sensation of a hearing. Now, it is received by our ears and perceived by our brain. What is the meaning? We receive through our ears, and of course it is understood by the brain. So today we will see the different types of sounds produced by various objects. Now, to define sound, I have just written a line over here that sound is a form of energy which creates a sense of hearing. Now, this sound is picked up by the ears, and of course it is understood by our brain. Now, there is an auditory nerve in our ears that takes the information to the brain. Now, next, what are the sources of sounds? Now, all the objects that produce sounds will be sources of sound. For example, animals. There are various animals which produce different types of sounds. Birds, humans. Of course, I have listed the train also. TV, music system, machines in the factories, automobiles, radios, and there's scores of hundreds of other objects that produce sound. Now, but each sound has got its own characteristics. Some sounds are loud, some sounds are not so loud, some sounds are shrill, some sounds are less shrill, some sounds may not be pleasant to our ears, some sounds are pleasant to our ears. So we can easily distinguish between different types of sounds that is produced. Now, when I was a kid like you, now a very common activity that you all do, or even we did during our school days. So what we used to do? We used to like stretch a rubber band around our pencil box, or maybe a hard bound copies or a book, and then try to produce the sound by those plucking the rubber bands. I've just had this. This is a common thing that all of you do in the class. This type. So I've taken a book or a copy, and I have tied some 3 rubber bands here. So if I pluck one of them, you can hear a sound. So these are the different types of sound. What am I doing? I am plucking the strings, and you can hear the sounds. Now this sound is produced due to vibration. Now what is vibration? This is to and fro movement of the strings about its mean position. Now there are scores, even the different mechanism of producing sounds. At some places we plug the strings, sometimes we play different instruments, we play flute. Now you'll ask me, how does the sound come? So they have got holes, and the air columns are made to vibrate. Similarly, we have got skin instruments, okay, percussion instruments like tabla, mridangam. All these are percussion instruments where the membrane it vibrates and then the sound is produced. Now, so we have seen about the sound and the sources of sounds. Now I am going to list some of the sounds that is produced due to vibrations. So now I am going to list a few objects that produces sound due to vibrations. Now children, let us see the sounds produced due to vibration by various objects. Here I have listed a few of them. Here I have listed a human voice. Now human voice, what vibrates? It is the vocal cord that vibrates and the sound is produced. Next we have a guitar. You are very familiar with guitar. There are strings. These strings vibrate and the sound is produced. Similarly, drum. It is the drum skin that vibrates and the sound is produced. Similarly, a xylophone. The metal bars, they vibrate and a particular sound is produced. Similarly, we have got tambourine. That is a metal disc, it vibrates. In a bell, it is the sides of the bells that vibrate. In the mouth organ, we have got a mouth piano or you say mouth organ. There the air columns vibrate and produce sounds, and it can be adjusted by various these holes are there that can be adjusted to produce a musical note that we will see in the higher classes. Now a tuning fork. Now this is an instrument that you will be using even in the labs, in the laboratory when you go to the senior class, when you do the experiments with sound. Here the prongs vibrate. Okay, the prongs vibrate and the sound is produced. Now in animals, and animals also produce various types of sounds. Here I have listed few of them and I am going to just read out to you that animals are able to produce wide range of sounds. Now animals with lungs like the birds, the frogs, and almost all mammals which are lung breathers, sound is produced by blowing air through the vocal cords. I am going to explain later on what is vocal cord in the human beings. Frogs have air sacs. Frogs have air sacs under their throat. Now they fill it up with air and then blow air through the vocal cords, and as the vocal cord vibrates, sound is produced. Similarly, the birds. Now birds have ring of cartilage. Now these cartilages are very soft bones in their windpipe called the syrinx. Sound is produced when air passes through it. Sound in insects. Birds, insects do not have lungs, so they cannot produce sound by blowing air. Bees produce buzzing sound due to the vibration of their wings. Now, insect like grasshopper produce a chirping sound by rubbing the stiff hair on their legs. Now, cricket make chirping noise by rubbing their wings together. Fishes have an organ called air bladder which produces sound on vibrating. Now this is about the different animals and how they produce sound by vibrations. Now next I am going to tell you about, in short we will try to explain how the human beings speak, or how the sound is produced by human beings. The organ which produces sound in a human being is the larynx. Now this larynx lies between the trachea, that is the windpipe, and the pharynx. Now this vocal cord, there are two vocal cords and it is made up of tissues, folds of tissues which have slit, just like a slit, and when air passes through this, then the vocal cord, they vibrate and the sound is produced. So if you see your book on page number 80, it is mentioned there. So this is our vocal cord that produces sound. You can see on your book, I'll just read that what is given there. The organ which helps us to speak is called the larynx. Just I told you, it lies between the pharynx and the trachea. The larynx has two vocal cords which are folds of tissues with a slit-like opening between them. When we speak, air passes through this opening and vocal cord vibrates to produce sound. Now we can adjust this vocal cords and a shrill or a bass voice can be heard. So this is how the sound is produced by human beings. So children, today we will do till this only. In the next class we are going to proceed with more topics on sound. Now along with this lesson, a short assignment will be sent which you will do in your exercise copies. Till then, take care and thank you for being here. Thank you.